Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Kevin Miller, and today's video is attack your weaknesses, don't run from them. Well, basically, in life, we all have areas that we're weak at, things that we could really improve. What a lot of people do is they just completely ignore those weaknesses, and maybe they just try to focus only on their strengths, or they just completely scared of their weaknesses, so they try to hide it. But sooner or later, there's gonna become a point. There's gonna be a point in life where that weakness is going to be on display. You're going to have to face the music. So, in reality, all I'm just telling you to do is you gotta have the courage, and you gotta step up, and you gotta face that weakness, and you have to overcome it. You have to improve that aspect that you're weak at. For example, for me, I'm not always the most sociable person. I'm not the most talkable person. So, one of the reasons I'm doing this YouTube video, besides just kicking knowledge and helping people out, is, I want to improve my speaking skills. So basically, how I'm attacking that weakness is by making these videos. And then, as time progresses, I'm going to get better and better. You simply get better at those things you do over and over and over and over. Just as long as you analyze what you're doing and adjust, So, the reason I'm making this video in particular is because, a lot of people really need to look in the mirror and analyze those parts of the parts of their lives that they're not satisfied with. Maybe you're not making as much money as you want to. So you can just sit around and do the same thing day after day after day, and then hope maybe one day your boss will give you a little raise, or maybe you'll get you get lucky and hit the lottery. But the likelihood of anything significant happening to really change your life with you doing nothing is very low. So your weakness in that instance would be your lack of money-making skills. So this is what you do in that instance. You cut the TV off. You read some books on various avenues of making money. Go to YouTube, watch some videos, find something you like, and instead of watching TV or just wasting time, develop a skill, and then start working on the plan of entrepreneurship. It might fail, but if you never try, it's certainly going to fail. You know what I mean? You shouldn't fear failure. You should fear not trying at all. Because in reality, failure is a stepping stone to success. It's not like what school told you. Failure is bad. It's bad. It's bad. Never fail. Try to do the perfect thing the first time. That's a bunch of nonsense. In reality, the people who have the most failures usually end up being the most successful, because they end up learning from their failures, and they keep on accumulating knowledge. They keep on building on that. Now, there's certain critical situations where you can't just go out and fail. For example, if you're a doctor and you're trying to do surgery, or you're a bomb expert or something, but in those situations where you fail is in practice. You fail before you're put in those critical situations. So yeah, in those situations, failure is still a helpful learning experience. But yeah, there are critical moments when you can't fail, but that's why you get your failures out ahead of time, so that you're competent. And I'm gonna keep this little video short. So on that ending note, what I want you to do is I want you to look at some areas of your life that you're not particularly satisfied with. I want you to write it down. I want you to write down a few possible ways that you can attack that problem and overcome it. And then I want you to go out and I want you to go do that. So if you keep on doing this, eventually you're going to see huge changes in your life. And on that note, I'm out. Peace.